Welcome to another Digital Jamaica Live show. It's good to have you guys again tonight. First
Hey,
things first.
I can't believe that February almost done.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the time is just going so fast,
Yes.
right?
And
Guys,
another thing
first.
before we go further, your left earring. We got to watch out, Your left earring, fix it. Yes.
Okay.
Have a look out,
All right, mom. Thank you. Apologizing for my absence last week, guys. I just could not cross it. I could not cross it last week at all. So apologizing for my absence, but now I'm back. And Monique, you did a fantastic job last week. Can I tell you?
Thanks.
Fantastic job last week. That conversation with Gerard was amazing.
Literally, guys, if you haven't watched it yet, you need to go and check it out. Honestly, it was such an easy conversation to have. And I still have my notes. Like, listen, if you missed it, you need to go find the replay because gems were shared. Okay?
Yes. Lots of gems were shared. Why my glasses look so wonky? My glasses need straightening, but we're going to work with it for today. Okay. All right. Now we have a very special guest with us tonight. Somebody you probably already know because she's
Everybody
popular.
know. Everybody know her. Yeah.
She's been out in the streets. So everybody know who she is. It's Naomi Garrick, CEO of Garrick Communications, aka PR Chick.
Yeah.
And she is here to talk to us about personal branding, specifically how to get your message across accurately, effectively, how to effectively communicate your brand to people. All right. So that's going to be an amazing conversation because Naomi always brings the sauce. Okay. But before Monique, you're like a sound effect. Well, before we go into that, guys, some news roundup and whoa, Nelly.
Woo!
Do we have a lot of news? I mean, I think this is the most exciting. The tech space has been in Jamaica for a while.
A minute.
Wally things going on, Wally conversations happening, and it's actually the silver lining to all that's going on. And guys, I'm really talking about the whole Jam COVID app debacle. The silver lining to all that's been going on is that the public is literally getting a baptism by fire.
Yeah, the people don't have a choice.
Public awareness is now up 1,000% around data privacy and data security, something that we've been talking about for so long.
Yeah.
And just as how COVID was the impetus for us to start having conversations about digital transformation, this whole mishap has been the impetus for us to start talking about data security and privacy. So in a way, or what you can say, this is a good takeaway.
Yes.
But guys, this is what I want Jamaicans to understand. And what you're seeing happening with TechCrunch and Zach Whitaker is actual journalism. This is what I want you guys to understand. You're seeing actual journalism at play. Whoa. And this is not a slight to Jamaican journalists, because Jamaican journalists are among some of the best anywhere in the world.
Yes.
But what it is that we don't have journalists who are informed and who have not even a baseline understanding as it relates to technology. We just don't. We don't have tech journalism happening in Jamaica. So what you usually see happens is when something happens in the tech world, journalists will call in the professionals, the tech professionals, to come and explain. The problem with getting tech professionals to come in and explain is that they speak a completely different language than everybody else.
Yeah, and if you don't understand the concept.
So sometimes trying to understand them is difficult, which is why you have tech journalists, because they should be able to take large complex subject matters and break them down and then relay them to the general public in such a way that the public can understand.
Understand it, yeah. That's
But
it
the
makes
other thing
sense.
too, which is this now, this is a slight against Jamaican journalists.
Hold on. Before you go to the against the journalists, because if they don't, just to underscore the point you just make, if they don't understand the concepts or the stuff themselves, anything this supposed expert come and tell you, that's gospel. You can't investigate. You can't.
You don't know what to ask.
You don't know what to ask.
Yeah.
You don't know how to bring out the information. You don't know, like that one on Mellow FM. You don't know what they don't know.
Exactly. So the other thing too, and I was saying this is a slight against Jamaican journalists now. No, I'm throwing shade. Yeah. The follow-up, Zach Whittaker's follow-up game is very strong. Right? Now, guys, what you need to understand about TechCrunch is one of the largest online publications on tech. Largest anywhere. TechCrunch is a well-known, well-respected, and trusted publication on tech, which means that anything they put out, people are automatically going to give the benefit of the doubt. Because these people research, they are not people just talk. They have access to the who is who of who in tech, which means that the information that they're giving you most times is first-hand information.
Yeah.
So just to put that out there, and then look at Dibby, and this is a serious publication with dealing with here. Yeah. And Zach Whittaker is the chief editor for tech editor for TechCrunch. I think his title is something else, but that's pretty much what he does. Now, a part of this whole thing that I want you guys to understand is why Zach Whittaker is responding the way he is responding to the government's response. A couple of things, and the first thing is this. TechCrunch has a reputation to protect, and the Jamaican government has put something out that could imply something that TechCrunch ain't about. They ain't on that. No. They are not on that at all. So when the Jamaican government responded to say criminal investigations are going to be happening, to see if anybody breached or whatever they said, something to that effect. TechCrunch stepped back and go, first of all, right, because they took a defensive stance now because what are you trying to say? So, guys, I sat down yesterday and I had a very comprehensive conversation with Trevor Forrest, who is a cybersecurity expert. And we went through the timeline of events forensically. We picked everything apart. We explained all the terminologies. What is ethical hacking or white hatting versus black hatting? Why ethical hackers are so important to the tech field and why they are the wrong person for you to piss off. Hackers are the wrong people for you to piss off. Whether ethical hackers or unethical hackers, they are not the people you want to get on the wrong side of. But ethical hackers act as a buffer between you and unethical and bad actors. Right? Because these are the people who go around and test your systems to make sure that they're working. Because guys, let's just get this clear. What happened with Jump COVID app, the vulnerabilities that were exposed, that's not the big deal, you know. Yes, people data may have been leaked. There may have been a breach, but there's no evidence of a breach. The government was correct. But a vulnerability was exposed. Guys, every system has a vulnerability. And it is impossible for a developer to know what all the vulnerabilities could be. That's not going to be something that comes up until after that system goes live, right? Now, mind you, this system went live in 48 hours, which means there's not a lot of testing that was done. But that's a whole other conversation.
That takes 3 days.
However, the vulnerability is an issue. You're going to have vulnerabilities all the time. You see, the
Your response.
response to what happens, that
The
is what
response.
compounded the problem.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
the fact that the government was slow to react, and that Amber is igniting people, igniting the situation with provocative statements, none of this is helping us. Because if we're going to look at ethical hackers and researchers and say to them, so we don't want you to tell, we're not it, we are going to be in serious
Problem.
bottom hole.
Yeah.
Because
We're going to be in
we
problem.
rely on these people to help us shore up our systems. No
And
government, not the US government, think of the richest country in the world. They cannot afford a cybersecurity attack. Nobody can afford a cybersecurity attack, much less we. So notice how everybody
in a pandemic.
ethical hackers, they embrace them because they are necessary. They are a necessary component when we're talking about cybersecurity. The Jamaican government missed the mark with their response.
Yes.
To be fair to them, however, they had to take a certain stance because we do have laws here that talks about cybersecurity. And if it is that somebody did breach, no, vulnerability and a breach is two different things. And guys, that conversation with Trevor Forrest comes out next week, Wednesday, on our podcast. I urge you to listen to it because he literally explained everything, the difference between vulnerability and breach, and why vulnerability is inevitable and why a breach can be criminal. So when that comes out, please go and listen to it. But we can't afford to piss these people off. The government responded strongly, but there's a difference between a strong response and a subtle or vague threat. And I see how TechCrunch could have interpreted the government response as a vague threat, which is how they literally interpreted it, which is why they went ahead and start dashing out receipts.
Yeah. No, the thing though,
like flying out and everybody's like, oh
yeah, okay. Yeah. The thing
this
though,
is why you don't piss these people off.
Vulnerability is one thing, but in putting out systems, there are certain checks and balances, and there's certain basic infrastructure setup that really just should not happen. And this is one of the examples of something that really should not have happened in terms of the information being exposed. And we
actually don't know if information was exposed. We actually don't know.
Well,
what we know is that vulnerability was exposed. We don't know if information was actually exposed. We don't know and cannot tell if somebody went in and accessed the information. What we know is that there's nothing preventing them from doing that, or there was nothing preventing someone from doing that, but there's no way to know.
Well, why?
As you said last week, Monique, and as you said on Tech Time, them not gonna hackers are not gonna go, hey guys, so I'm breaking into your system.
Yeah, and I've your information. Yeah. No, why?
People who don't leave traces.
Yeah, why I phrased it that way is by virtue of even if TechCrunch was the one organization that identified and found the thing, it was still identified and found.
No, TechCrunch did not say they found people's information online. TechCrunch said they found a vulnerability. They found a way to access the information. TechCrunch actually did not say they accessed the information.
No, man.
They would never say that.
No, they listed and said how many passport information was included. They listed this thousands of
yes, what they're saying is that somebody could have access that information. That's what they said. We have to be very careful because nobody has said there has been a breach, and breach means somebody accessed that information. TechCrunch did not say that, and the government did not say that. Amber did not say that, which is why I want you guys to listen to that episode with Trevor first, because he literally broke down the difference between a vulnerability and a breach. We do not know if a breach has actually happened. We know that vulnerabilities were spotted, and that meant that people's data could have been exposed. We don't know if that has actually happened, right? But guys, it's a mess. And then after that whole thing happened and Amber coming up, saying it with them chests, yeah, and getting all excited, provocative, and what defamation. Somebody needs to explain to Mr. Savaria what defamation.
What defamation means,
right? But TechCrunch went again and found another vulnerability. And then it's funny how they say that, oh, it's almost as if they say, well, we find the next vulnerability, and then Amber says, well, yeah, but that information is no longer useful. No longer since when? That information has been accessible to any and everybody. You don't have no knowledge of tech or hacking to have access to that information. First, they say it was just handed out there, right? So since when was that information no longer valid, and says who?
Yeah.
That information is no longer valid. So and then you had this other organization who came out and said, oh, we check and the system is fine. The system is fine. But there's a difference between the system and the app. The app sits on top of the system. Yeah. So when you check the server, and the server fine. But that's not where the vulnerability was. The vulnerability was on the app. So that too was misleading, which is why I know that whoever reported that story don't know nothing about tech and data security, because the headline was misleading. It's a mess. It's a whole mess. So in that episode with Trevor Forrest, we went and dissected the situation. We spoke about the response and what the response should have been, and why the response that the government issued was not effective and could actually put Jamaica in problems in terms of our relationship with the tech community, especially the people in the tech community who's working to secure online systems. Nobody wants to piss those people off because you need them. Because otherwise, they're the same people that you're going to call, but no, you're going to have to pay them. And believe me, we cannot afford to pay them. Yeah? And then the ramifications, because the government may have been exposed to litigation. They may be exposed to litigation from the General Data Protection Regulations, which is what we call the GDPR, from the EU. And if we want to do business with the EU, we have to acquiesce to this, which means that there's no wriggling out of it. And if somebody in the UK or in Europe decides, say, I'm going to be mischievous and sue the government, it's the government who has the answer for this, not Amber, because according to the GDPR, it's the data controller who is liable, not the data processor. And in this situation, the data controller is the government. The data processor is Amber Group. Exactly. Yeah. And the data controller is who is responsible. And it's the exact same thing that our law says, because our law, our Data Protection Act, mirrors the GDPR in many ways. It had to, right? In many ways. And our law says the exact same thing. So the government could actually fall on their own sword. Their own act can indict them. The only good for them is that our Data Protection Act don't come into play until 2022. So they may escape locally, but they may not be able to escape internationally. Yeah. Guys, listen to that episode next week. It is super informative, and Trevor went in with the information. Okay, that comes out on Wednesday of next week, guys. But in other news story, we have more lighter story.
What?
To go. So the next story, Monique, over to you.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull out one more story, and then after we have the conversation to kind of wrap up, we can kind of come back. So because I want to have this conversation with Naomi. Another government organization, NWC, warns of fake social media accounts. Now, still on the conversation of cybersecurity and data protection and citizens understanding, having some form of digital literacy being super, super important. NWC has fallen victim, and Jamaicans have fallen victim because persons have created fake Instagram accounts, as in
So
multiple
many people's accounts, yeah.
impersonating the National Water Commission. And not because it's NWC today, they can do the same thing with JPS. They can do the same thing with, yeah. And they've been encouraging legitimate customers to make credit card payments under false pretenses. So you think you're paying your water bill when in real life a scammer is just skimming your card information. You think you're paying $1,000 and they're gone with your entire, them gone with your money. Yeah. So be very careful. This is another reason why verification of our accounts is so important. Another reason why actually having a strong presence and presenting yourself in a professional, consistent manner that people can come to expect, a certain look, a certain feel, a certain tone, is so important, especially from our government and these agencies.
I don't know, no money. This is my thing.
Yes.
Why aren't more Jamaicans blue tick verified? That's what I don't understand, because I see a lot of Instagram accounts and Twitter accounts that can be verified because they're over the 10,000 mark. And even though Instagram will tell you that, oh, it doesn't depend on the numbers, we know that ain't true, right? So once you're over a certain amount of numbers of followers, you can go and get yourself blue tick verified. And it's the same thing I said on Twitter, and I responded to NWC. I was like, guys, go and get yourself blue tick verified, because a blue tick verification authenticates your page. That being said, and a blue tick verification is hard to fake. So that means say if me get a message from NWC and me not see the blue tick, me I gonna know that something is up. It's one very easy, very obvious way of verifying your account. Guys, if you have over 10,000 followers on your account, go and get yourself blue tick verified. It really does help. All right, guys?
So, all right. Without any further ado, our very special guest for this evening, she is the PR chick. She is the personal branding and professional branding and PR extraordinaire. She is the beautiful, the effervescent, the lively Naomi Garrick. Welcome, Naomi.
Hi, guys.
Live show.
Wow, Monique, I'm going to have to take you everywhere with me to do that intro. It's awesome.
Naomi, we're so happy to have you on with us. And listen, this is what we like. Kadia, we talked about this. Reaching out, and now we can just say some of our Jamaican people, I called Naomi one time. The answer was yes. I'll be there. Yeah?
Of course.
So we want to talk about personal branding because all of these things are happening. Even the stories that we talked about earlier, though they are about cybersecurity, etc., all of them still come back to your brand and how we deal with certain situations. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we naturally thought of you to join us for this conversation.
Well, thank you, ladies. I'm super happy to be here.
Okay, so we have a lot of persons within our community who either are building their own personal brands, or they may be entrepreneurs starting to build their business, yeah? But a lot of persons have an idea, or they know they want to show up in the online space, but they're not really sure how. Kind of
sure
with how to put this brand together. So how can persons who are looking to get started, to make that first step, start building their personal brand online? How do they get started?
Okay, sure. So that's a really great question. And before we even talk about how you get started, it's important to understand what the personal brand is, right? And the personal brand is a couple of different things. It's how you see yourself, it's how others see you, it's what people say when you're not in the room. But more importantly, it has also become what Google has to say about you. And that's why the online brand has become so relevant right now, because anyone can search for your brand with just the click of a button, right? On
Yeah.
a simple online search. And not all the times what's showing up online is a true representation of who we are in this moment or the brand that we are currently building. And that's why it's so important, because a lot of individuals will make their decision about whether working with you, hiring you, using your products and services based on what they find when they do this online search. So I think that's why the personal brand has become even more relevant right now, because the rest of the world has such easy access to it. But essentially, with your personal or professional brand, there are two things that are really important. It's about what do you want to be known for? And it's also about the unique problem that you solve, right? Who is your ideal audience? And so you have to start there. So what I normally advise my clients is I use a 3-step method, the CVC, and it's clarity, value, and communication. So the first thing you have to do is you have to get clarity on who you are as an individual. What's most important to you? What are some of your core values? What are your goals? And then you talk about your unique value. What is it that you do well or you do better than someone else? Or what is that unique problem that you solve? What is it that you have learned through your personal journey and experiences that you can bring to a space that someone else cannot? Because at the end of the day, you will find many people that are in your field of expertise that may do exactly what you do. But because of your experiences, because of your own journey, because of your education, it allows you to do something differently. There's no one in the world that does what you do exactly the way that you do it.
Yeah,
And
the
so it's very
sword
important.
the table. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's very important for you to understand what that differentiator is in your space, so that that's what you are promoting as a part of your personal brand. So you want to think about, what is it that I want to be known for? So for me, example, I wanted to be known as the PR chick. And it's a brand that I have been building continuously. I'm very
For years.
intentional about the brand, because I want to be known as the PR chick. Because being known as a PR chick, I'm also known for two main things: personal branding and public relations. But all of that falls under this brand, the PR chick. So that's what I want to be known for. So I'm intentional about how I communicate that. And that's what comes to the third step. So it's clarity, value, and communication. And with communication, you have to know who you're communicating to. So who is your ideal audience? Or in marketing, we use the term brand avatar. And that's getting very specific with who you are trying to attract, whose problems do you solve, or who actually needs to know about you, so that you are communicating with them in the right spaces. So you have to understand yourself, understand your brand, understand your value, and then know how to communicate it efficiently and effectively to the people that need to know who you are.
I love that so much, because I think a lot of us kind of get lost, or we get overwhelmed when we start thinking branding, and it seems so airy-fairy and it sounds that you kind of say later for that, and I'm focusing on what I'm doing now. But as just to kind of pull it out, you started with introspection. You started with reviewing, literally, what am I trying to do here? What am I trying to say? What's the point? What's the purpose of
the point?
And first of all, I felt like I was in a masterclass a while ago, because don't know if anybody else notice or realize that Naomi just dropped, like, you had to do a semester at UE, and she just said it so fluently and so that, and in simple language that you still understand it, but that was actually a lot of information. So
and Monique, one of the things is, people think that, as you said, that this personal brand or professional brand is this airy fairy thing that you need to get. But the reality is, every single individual already has a personal brand. Because I can guarantee you that anybody that meets you, they form an impression of you based on that interaction. They form an impression of you based on what they see showing up for you online. So you are unconsciously already creating this personal brand. But the thing is this what you want to be known for? And so with the personal brand, we have the opportunity to develop and craft our messages exactly the way that we want to do it.
So I love that you're there, because now we've reached the message, right? And what we're communicating. Yeah. Once I've identified what I want to say, how do I do that in the online space? How do
Great.
I know now what I want to say and have an idea of who I'm talking to? How do I do it?
So what I would say is the key is to knowing who you're talking to. And by knowing who you're talking to, you know where your audience lives online. And what happens is sometimes we get so caught up in just getting this online presence, and we show up on Instagram or LinkedIn, and that's not necessarily, maybe our audience lives on TikTok, but we're not there. So you have to, when you understand who your audience is, then you can start finding out where they hang out online, so that you're also hanging out in that space and you're being engaging and you're being interactive and you are answering questions that solve their problems. So an example I would give is for my brand. I realized I have multiple audiences. I find that through my Instagram page for the PR Chick, I tend to attract individuals who are learning about the personal brand for the first time, and they may be interested in joining a free webinar or buying my workbook or some low entry kind of product that gets them a little bit of understanding of the brand.
Higher funnel activities sometimes.
Right. So maybe they will purchase an online course or something like that, right? Anything that's under $100. But on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is the place where professionals go to do business globally, right?
You hear it co-signed. You hear it co-signed by the PR Chick herself.
Yeah, I mean, LinkedIn, and I'll tell you my experience that happened during this COVID period as well. So as a coach, I encourage all of my clients to get on LinkedIn. And when I say get on LinkedIn, I don't mean have an online resume, which is what a lot of people do, especially here in Jamaica.
Yes.
It is such an amazing platform to connect with people, like-minded individual professionals from around the world. And in the same way that we engage and interact with people on Instagram is the same way we need to be engaging and interacting and following and commenting and providing value on LinkedIn. So I find that through LinkedIn, as I said, I teach my clients to get online, update their profiles, create their headline statement, and be present on the platform. But to be honest, I really wasn't doing the same. I just really didn't have the time. What COVID-19 brought was a lot of time. And so I started actually, I started actually repurposing content that I'd used on Instagram for years, rewording it a little bit, maybe using a different image, but pretty much the same content, but changing the language slightly for the audience that's on LinkedIn. And my following grew so much. I got invited to be a part of webinars all over the world with people I had never met before. I got a lot of new coaching clients through LinkedIn. I got new people joining my webinars, and that's just because I was showing up in the space, not trying to sell a product or service, but just by adding value and positioning myself as an expert and a thought leader, and not being afraid to connect with other people in my space from around the world. Because what happened was I started following and liking and engaging with other personal branding coaches from all over the world. And then we built relationships. And so they would invite me on their platforms. I'd invite them on my platforms. And then because of that, both of our networks would expand.
Yes.
And so collaboration leads to a lot of new opportunities that we maybe weren't looking for before. But we have to be showing up in a consistent and meaningful way where we're always providing value to our audience. We're always trying to figure out what are our audience's problems so that we can solve them. But as I said, it goes back to understanding where they live. Where are they hanging out online so that you can make sure you're hanging out in that space too.
Yeah, where they live, what their needs are, how you can fill them based on, again, your introspection that you'd have done already, because now you know what you're about.
And don't just go in for the kill, right? Don't just go in for the sale.
Yeah.
People get turned off by that. You have to add value.
Whole heap. Naomi just dropped a lot of information. So I'm repeating because I know it can gloss over. You hear them? Yeah. But Naomi talked about exercising your expertise. And she gave an example of how she did it by providing value. And a lot of it was content and stuff she already had.
Yeah, just repurposing, but targeting it to that specific audience.
Yes, yes.
And I want you guys to notice something Naomi said as well. Naomi said, I tweaked it a little bit. I changed the image and I've changed some words. And that I think is a very important area, because a part of communication, and you can let me know if I'm on something here, Naomi, a part of communication is that you know how to talk to your audience.
Yeah.
It's not just knowing where they are, but knowing how to talk to them, because your audience on LinkedIn is a different conversation, different tone, different language, different presentation as your audience on Instagram or Twitter. So understanding the platform is one thing, understanding who the persons are who use the platform is another thing, and then tailoring your content, your message, your communication strategy to match that is also very important.
And,
so
and what I would add to that is a lot of testing and measuring, right? Yes, the great thing with platforms like Instagram is that, especially if you have a business page, which is what I would recommend to any individual, you get to see a lot more of the insights and the analytics. So you can know what your audience responds to. So you can take one piece of content, maybe a 10-minute video, and you end up breaking that down into 5 shorter videos. You can transcribe the content and turn that into a long form article on LinkedIn. You can turn it into quotes. You can turn it into a slideshow. There's so much you can do with one piece of content and then break it up to use on the different platforms. But I test and measure all the time. So I know already that what people respond to really well to me on LinkedIn is when I share some kind of PDF document, or I do some kind of 10 steps to something, right? That's the type of content for me that gets a lot of shares. I get a lot of comments. Video all the time.
I saw the every platform. You did as well, Naomi. That was on heavy rotation on LinkedIn.
Thank you. And that's the thing. You have to just try out different things to see what your audience likes. I'm amazed all the time when I check out my Instagram insights sometimes that people resonate more sometimes with just two things people seem to like on my Instagram. Pictures of me with good copy, and also if I put like a quote.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see what your audience likes. And if you realize if your audience only wants to see quotes, then just do quotes all the time. You don't need to reinvent the wheel, right? And your audience will tell you, what they like. And the great thing is that you can see what they share and what they save. And that's a really good indicator. So I tell people, don't look on the likes. Sometimes don't even look on the comments. Look to see what people are saving. Look to see what people are sharing. Because if they took the time to save it, that means they want to go back to it. If they took the time to share it, that means they found value in it that they thought could benefit somebody else.
Yes.
So those are the metrics that I look at to determine what kind of content I need to create on the different platforms.
Okay. So a conversation that comes up all the time, and unfortunately, we're still having this conversation, though COVID has happened. When I ask a question, you'll get it. Yeah. You've proven your success in the traditional space over and over again, time and time again. Talk in any corporate space, in any room, call Naomi Garrick name, people know who you are. Yeah. So you've already established a brand within the traditional space. Why was it so important for you to solidify that and bring that over, even in saying PR chick, which is still young and trendy and fresh. Why was it so important for you to because you start this long time before COVID? Yes. Why is it so important for you to transition your expertise over into the digital space?
Well, to me, it's an obvious answer. Your reach. Through
Mm-hmm.
traditional media, you're only targeting whoever is here in Jamaica that watches TV or reads a newspaper, or listens to radio. When you're online, you target the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
And it allows me to introduce myself over and over again to different people who don't know me, who don't know me as a PR chick, who don't know me as a personal branding coach, but needs my services or expertise. So online gives me an opportunity to really, I guess, stretch my wings and reach a lot more people that I think I can help or bring value to. And so it's so important. And what is happening now in this global space is that the world has gotten bigger, but it's also gotten very small because we're
Mm-hmm.
all showing up online, which means that we have to do a lot more work to differentiate ourselves and to stand out in our areas of expertise. And so it has to be very consistent and very deliberate with our approach and how we're trying to reach our audience. And it's like you have to keep doing it over and over and over because there's this thing called social proof, right? So you can tell people you are the expert, or I'm Naomi Garrick and I'm the PR chick. Great. You've never heard of me before. So the first thing you're going to do is a Google search. And if you go online and you search for Naomi Garrick or the PR chick and you see nothing related to the things I told you I'm the expert in, then you almost start to think, is this person for real? Like, and then maybe what you will do is you'll see somebody else that comes up in the search that says they're the expert, and you move on to that person. And they may
Yeah.
not be the
Yeah.
expert, but they're showing up online. And so it's important for you to create this social proof that people are using to make decisions about you. And that's why things like writing are using traditional media as well, but getting it online. So being a contributor to your local newspaper is a great way to solidify your expertise, but then it
Mm-hmm.
also comes with an online link and that shows up in a Google search for you. So it's a balance between both, right? So traditional media is still very, very important. And I also
Yeah.
think we have a lot of opportunities to get placements in traditional media because people are not as out and about as they were before, but they still need content every day. And so now is a great time to start even pitching articles or features to your local newspapers or to global newspapers, because you can find all of them online. I mean, if you go on any magazine online, you can find who the editor is for a specific section. Do a pitch, because all that does is it helps to promote your brand and promote you as an expert so that when people hear about you and they search for you, your online brand actually connects with your real life brand.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, Lily, thank you. Are there any tips or any pointers that you'd like that you can share with our listeners who may be looking to create their own online brand and want it to stand out?
Sure. So the first thing I'd say is ensure that you have an updated online profile on all your platforms, right? Because your online profile is basically the business card for your brand right now. It has your professional headshot, which is what I would recommend. And that's fine if you can't go to someone to do a professional photo shoot. Everyone has a smartphone. You just
Yeah.
want to dress the way that you want to be addressed. You find a nice clean background that you can use so that there's not too much distraction, and you show up for your audience. Ensure that you have a clear headline statement that speaks to who you are, what you do, and who you do it for. But in addition to that, ensure that if you use this headline statement, the
Mm-hmm.
content that people actually see on your page is aligned with what you said you do. So you don't want to say
Yeah.
that you are the best shoemaker in the world, and then when I go on your Instagram page, I see nothing about shoes. It's
Yeah.
going to throw off your audience.
Yeah.
And so I think that's very, very important. Having a very strong headline statement that clearly communicates who you are, what you do, and who you do it for. Ensure you have a really good professional headshot. Ensure that your profiles are updated. Actually, the number one thing I would say is Google yourself. Google yourself and do an online brand audit and see what everyone else sees when they search for your name or your brand. A lot of
Yeah.
us don't do that. I have Google alerts for my name so that I know if something new pops up that I'm not aware of. It may be
Yeah.
something that I'm not happy with, and I can address it because I know it's there.
Yeah.
So the first thing I'd say is do an online audit. See what everyone else sees, right? Maybe your
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn page comes up first that you haven't gone on in 10 years. But that's the first thing someone
And
sees,
you
right?
realize, you have to go fix up. Yeah.
Exactly. Or it
Yeah.
could be your Instagram page, and maybe that's not the page that you want your clients to go to first when they
Yes.
search
Yeah.
for you. So you have to be aware of actually what is showing up in those spaces for you when people search for you and your brand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I would
And
say that when you discover what
Mhm.
you want to do, be consistent. Ask your audience what they want to hear from you, because they'll tell you. You just have to ask them, and don't be afraid to try out new platforms. Don't be afraid to go live. I know it can be very weird sometimes because you feel like you're talking to yourself.
To
And what if nobody
yourself.
shows up on my live, or only one person shows up? That's fine. Be your
Yeah.
best self for that one person. It will continue to grow over time. No one started a page with 1 million followers. They started with one. So take
Yeah.
your time and don't be discouraged. Don't feel pressured. But it is important to start showing up with your brand in that online space, because the rest of the world is already there and they're not waiting for you to join.
Amen.
Yeah. I mean, that last line though, straight though, because that
Mic drop.
no, yeah, mic drop.
Yeah, I mean, we could go all even with Naomi, because you
Yeah.
know, another thing too is consistency, being
Yeah.
consistent.
Yeah.
And Naomi said it. She's been doing this for some time. You know,
Yeah.
consistently engaging,
And
and
I'm honestly not as
first of
consistent
all,
as I need to be.
Naomi
So that's
is
what I need to work on.
always. What was that, Naomi?
I said I'm actually not as consistent as I need to be, but I'm working on it.
Yeah, right. I mean, sometimes you'll fall off, but for the most part, over the years, you've been consistent. I mean,
Yes.
Naomi's brand is so strong that I knew she was gonna show up here with red lipstick on tonight. Right? I knew. I was that was gonna happen. The
And
hairstyle is
the pixie,
consistent.
funky
The look is
glasses. Yeah.
consistent.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so that's kind of a part of your brand, always making sure that
Yeah.
you're showing up consistently, that the quality of your showing up is not just you showing up, but you're
Yeah.
showing up at a consistently high level all the
Guys,
time.
we have one
Anytime
brand at the
Naomi
end of the
puts
day,
anything
so
out, it's always good. You can lock your eye and know it's going to be good, because there's
Yeah.
a consistent quality that comes with it. So that's also important.
thank you guys.
Yes. So
Which is
thank
why
you.
she's here talking to y'all.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Naomi, for your words of wisdom. Are there any final words or anything that you want to plug, anything coming up, anything we can look out for?
Sure.
from
So
you?
first of all, thank you so much, ladies. It was a pleasure being a part of your live tonight. I hope your viewers got some great content and that they won't be afraid to start, right? And
Oh,
I think
yeah.
that is really the thing. People are afraid to just start. Start where
Yeah.
you are. Start small, slowly take your time. That's fine. But you have to just at least start doing something. What I would say is coming up, I actually have been working on, I released during COVID, I created an online course to building your personal brand. And what I can do for your audience is I'll send you a code money that you can send to them so they can get a special price to access the course. But I also recently created, but I haven't released it to the public yet, another course on building your online brand. So I currently have 2 courses online that are available, and I will send you the details.
Whoop, 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 whoop. So guys, you have it from the experts. Yeah. All the information that you need to know about creating your own online brand. And the message is just start. You got to start somewhere. Naomi, thank you so much for joining us. This isn't the last time you got to hear from us. We have big things in store for 2021. And
Awesome.
you know, we have your number on speed dial.
Thank you guys. It was certainly a pleasure being here.
All right, thank you so much, Naomi.
Bye.
All right, guys, wasn't that awesome? Wasn't that awesome, Naomi? Naomi always brings the sauce, and I just allowed money to do our thing, because guys, you know, notice that money turned big interviewer. On a notice that money interviewing skills have improved. Hey.
Can you come off of this?
our resident interviewer, because I mean, I'm still on the splendiferous job that she did last week. And of course, again, this week in talking to Naomi. So, clap her. Gonna clap her.
All right. So very because as Kadia said in the beginning, there were a lot of juicy stories. So the next one that's up in line is that Spotify is here in Jamaica. So they have actually launched in 15 Caribbean markets. That's going to be now and over the next few days. And it's a part of a bigger launch, the biggest launch they've ever done at one time, where they're opening 80, as in 80 markets across Asia, Africa, Latin America, and the Caribbean. And this is going to expand their streaming footprint to over 180 different markets. Now, if you remember, Spotify owns Anchor. So this opens up, it's not just about streaming and you can listen to music. It opens up monetization opportunities for people who do podcasts. Hello! And for musicians and anybody who is in audio. So it is a big deal. And it's really a bigger push. If you had that idea, if you had that mixtape that you want to drop, if you have that podcast idea you've been sitting on, what you waiting for? Go for it. Kadia, drop the next one, Pandem.
I beg pardon?
Drop the next one, Pandem.
All right, guys. So, we are always looking for Jamaicans who are in the tech and digital space who are doing amazing things. And this week we came across the story of 11-year-old Dominic Darby, who just won. So he beat out competition from 70 other countries, right? For the X Prize Connect Code Game Challenge. X Prize is they're kind of like a social initiative, but they're based in tech. And every year, right throughout the year, they run different games and challenges and stuff, right? And competition. So in this instance, Dominic entered the competition again. Over 70 persons from over 70 countries entered. There were over 800 competitors. And Dominic Darby, who is 11, won in his category. He's the junior
he's destined Scratch Junior Division.
Class Scratch Junior Division, and he won by creating a video game. So guys, we actually have up our Digital Jamaica news feed. We've actually started putting together news stories. Make sure that you're checking our stories regularly, because we put the news in there, and the link is always in our bio. You can click the link and get access to these stories. And there's also a video link there. You can go and watch the interview with Dominic Darby. He completely mashed up the place. The judges loved him. He did a fabulous job. So congratulations to Dominic Darby. Guys, we have some extraordinary young people in this country, you see? Oh my days, some extraordinary young people in this country, and we congratulate him on that. But the big news. Big news. So you guys have heard us talk about digital currency.
Yeah.
And we are still actively working on getting somebody who has the information and competence to talk to you guys about digital currency.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been watching this thing progress, because the Caribbean has been leading the world when it comes to digital currency. Believe it or not, the Caribbean
we need it.
The world. Yeah, right.
How we need it. How we not good.
So what happened a couple weeks ago, Eastern Caribbean Bank actually successfully tested their digital currency, and they're now in the process of rolling out. So by the end of this month, they're going to be fully their currency would have been fully rolled out and operational, right?
BAP.
And you know, Jamaica is in testing mode for our central bank digital currency, CBDC. And you know, we talked about WePay, right? WePay was on here a couple weeks ago answering all your questions. Well, all of those things have converged and connived because now WePay has partnered with MTech to announce that they are in the process of developing a Caribbean bank currency. So this is not individual Caribbean states developing their own digital currency, but this is a Caribbean currency called WeCoin, WICOI, and it is FUBU, for us, by us, okay? So it's by and from the Caribbean expressly, explicitly, okay? So get this, guys. According to Statista, the Caribbean B2C e-commerce market is valued at $5 billion US and is growing at approximately 25% annually.
Yeah.
Want to see why we've been on this e-commerce thing and why we've been encouraging y'all to get with it? Because there is money to be made, okay? And once we can get our online payment processing systems working and available,
my girl, nobody can hold me again.
I will have things to sell. Hello, a Jamaica will come from a William Jamaican people. I would want to buy with things.
You know what makes me really excited about this, Kadia? Because this is a Caribbean initiative. What this means is it makes it easier for me to buy from somebody in St. Kitts and Nevis or Trinidad. I can pay and then get their money and get my things. So that's what makes this so exciting for me. It's breaking down those barriers. And when we spoke with WePay, they talked about their infrastructure, which really allows persons to get paid to their bank account, whether somebody in Timbuktu or whatever. So with their existing infrastructure,
plus additional infrastructure, unless
e-commerce, WePay no come here for play.
WePay ain't playing with y'all.
And you know what
and snatching money out of our bank's pockets because our banks are
we've
lame.
We've been begging, but WePay said now we not find. Yeah, and the next thing that I am happy about, these are
before you go on to the next thing, guys, we said this a long time ago. I'm not afraid to say we just say it long time. It takes one enterprising person or company to come up with a fintech solution for Jamaica and the Caribbean and will bank them out of business. One enterprising person or company with a fintech solution, and that's what this is. I want you guys to understand that that's what this is. No, I am not saying that this is going to replace currency. However, it is going to make trade a lot easier and cross-border trading a lot easier, which means that there's a significant boost to our e-commerce sector, which is already worth how much? $5 billion. Do you know how much money Jamaicans transacted online last year? $13 billion worth of online transaction took place in Jamaica last year. 13 billion. We're not afraid to run money online. Clearly.
Time. So the Caribbean initiative, and we're here for it. Guys, that's our time.
Here for it.
That's our time. Thank you so much for
episode with Trevor Forrest comes out next Wednesday. Look out for it. Great conversation about the Jam COVID issue. And check our stories for updates, and we'll see you next week.
All right, guys. Bye.